Leadership in crisis is not about a genius plan. In fact, the best advice I ever heard from it is the first step in a crisis is admit that you're in a crisis. The second step, take one step out. See, crisis in leadership, it's about clarity and a sequence of events. It's not about running around and fixing things in front of you. So here's the sequence. Number one, acknowledge you're in a crisis, first to yourself, then to others. The words, we are in a crisis, are allowed to be said, just not with the tone and inflection of, we are in a crisis. Then, when you say it like that, nobody can align. And denial wastes time, and time is oxygen in a crisis. Step two, take one step out. Look, you're not going to fix everything, and there's one part of this you can fix. Stop the bleeding, start the communicating, stop the running around and doing things that don't work. You're not going to solve it out overnight. And then just take just one step forward. And the reason this works so well is because momentum beats fear every time. Only after that, create a plan, create a structure, and move forward. Now, of course, I didn't invent this framework. I was taught this framework while I was a CEO of a failing company, well, interim CEO of a. I didn't create this. I created this while I was interim CEO of a company I had invested in, was on the board of, and then the founder came in and brought me in as the crisis interim CEO, and that company failed. But I learned this lesson from it. Even now, as an executive coach, I usually get called during a crisis. That's actually my job. People call me when they're in the most difficult things that the team or the universe can't help them solve on their own. And what I've learned to do is this. The first thing I always want people to do is acknowledge it's happening. You can't get around it. It's happened. You caused it. You didn't catch it. It happened to you. Who caused it? That matters later. Right now, you need to snap into action. That's your job. First, it looks like momentum. Then you gather your people. You take a breath and say aloud, this has happened. You got to lose the temptation to say why right now. And here's the real crutch. Once you admit you're in a crisis, the hardest truth follows. The past where you weren't in a crisis, that's gone. The present is here. This is now the plan. Whether it's funding got lost or a client left or something emotional or social in your life, yesterday doesn't matter anymore in crisis. What's amazing is that once you reach the level of acceptance of this, the first step's actually usually clear. It manifests itself on its own. You'll find it through trusted advisors, through listening to your best self, through a walk in the woods. And once you take that first step, you'll typically find you have enough resources to work yourself the rest of the way out of the crisis. Remember one other fundamental truth, which is breathing is mandatory. We all have to do it all the time. Everything else is to some degree optional. Remember, in a crisis, you've moved into fight or flight. That's a physiological effect. Breathing helps you center and get out of that fight or flight mode and get your head back in gear. There's really no other way to do it. People have been writing about this for a couple thousand years, like as long as writing exists. But here's the most unfortunate and most true thing about all of this. The only way to be a good leader is to go through crisis and learn how to manage them. There is no leadership without crisis management. While part of leadership comes from leading companies away from a crisis, I acknowledge that. The real test is leading through it because crisis is inevitable. If you create a life that crisis doesn't occur in, you waited too long and you achieved too little. And if you can't take that breath, if you can't rally a team, you can't acknowledge what happens, you can't take the first step out, and after all that, build a plan and do an after action report. If that's not it, then leadership's not for you. That's totally okay too.